Christie's extra.
NFL right now, and the Denver Broncos weren't going to change it despite John Elway taking another week off with injuries. That meant Bubby Brister was starting, and he got off to a bad start as Rondé Harrison picked him off in the first quarter. That gave San Diego a chance to do what most teams can't do against Denver at the start of a game, but Ryan Leaf misses Brian Still wide open, and it was going to be one of those days for Ryan Leaf, and doesn't he know it? So you don't give Denver many second chances. Bubby Brister doesn't miss Terrell Davis, who's wide open, and Davis goes in for that first quarter touchdown. 7-0 Denver. Second quarter, Denver leading 10-0, and Terrell Davis on yet another almost untouched touchdown run. That one 24 yards. That made it 14-0. And with the score 20-0, Ryan Leaf got picked off by Darian Gordon. He returns the interception 36 yards to the 7-yard line. And on the very next play, Bubby Brister runs that old naked bootleg, play fake runs right, and hits Ed McCaffrey in the back of the end zone. That makes it 27-0, and the final score 27-10. Craig Whalehan relieving Ryan Leaf, but it didn't make much difference. McCaffrey, another big day with 9 catches. Mark Brunell had another big day for Jacksonville. They were entertaining Cincinnati, and Brunell didn't waste much time hitting Alvis Whithead for 55 yards. Jacksonville finding that deep attack. Fred Taylor took it in from the 1 to give them a 7-0 lead. Second quarter, 10-0, and Jimmy Smith, 18 yards from Brunell, gets a kiss from the mascot. It's 17-0. Now Brunell gets hit here by Raynard Wilson and fumbles. The fumble's recovered by Artrell Hawkins, and he returns it for big yardage. Cincinnati with a chance to get back in the game. But this is the Cincinnati Bengals, and Corey Dillon decides that he'll give the ball right back. Dillon gets hit by Joel Smenge. Aaron Beasley picks it up. Beasley takes it 91 yards with the fumble return for the touchdown. He coasts in just like Jacksonville coasted the rest of the game. They won 24-11. Watch the mascot and Donovan Darius doing it to Aaron Beasley. Fred Taylor, 118 yards on the ground, possible Rookie of the Year there. Paul Justin, the former Frankfurt quarterback, threw for a touchdown in the end for Cincinnati. The Saints were up in Minnesota. The quarterback controversy didn't emerge because Randall Cunningham got the start, but he gets sacked here and hurts his ankle. Turns out he's got bone chips in the knee as well. He was operated on today. Brad Johnson was back from his injury and didn't waste any time finding Chris Carter 14 yards for the touchdown. Now Minnesota up 17-0, and watch what happens when Aaron Craver here. He gets hit by Pete Barisic and goes down, but nobody sees him go down. Nobody touches him. He gets back up and goes 100 yards for the touchdown. Just a minute to go in the half when Beasley did that, and that put New Orleans back in the game. They're down 17-7 at the half. Doesn't get much easier than that for Aaron Beasley. Now Brad Johnson, he's just back from injury, remember, but Chad Cota runs into him here, and you saw Johnson's right hand hit the turf. He broke his thumb on that. That's why players hate AstroTurf, but he stayed in the game. Of course, if all you have to do is hand off to Robert Smith, you don't need your right thumb. Robert Smith goes 61 yards. Look at Chris Carter's blocking on Tyrone Drakeford there, and Smith goes in for the touchdown. Now Johnson was having his troubles throwing. He put that one up, and that was intercepted and taken back for a touchdown by Sammy Knight, 91 yards. And that put the Saints back in the game, tying it up at 24. But Johnson, knowing that right hand was giving him problems, shovels it off to Leroy Horde with the left hand to keep the drive alive. Watch again. Watch the way he changes hands. Puts the ball in the left as he's about to be sacked, gets the shovel pass off. Horde goes in from the 1-yard line. Minnesota 31-24 with 3 minutes left. Billy Joe Tolliver, however, gets introduced to Ed McDaniel and to Kylie Wong on successive plays, and that was it for the Saints, who put up a good fight but go down 31-24 to Minnesota. Billy Joe Tolliver, not a bad game. Robert Smith, 137 on the day rushing. And in other results, the Jets ended the Bills' winning streak as Vinny Testaverde beat Doug Flutie in the battle of the Heisman Trophy winners. The Falcons killed the Patriots at Foxborough. The Dolphins, not unexpectedly, beat the Colts in Miami. And Seattle had one good quarter to beat Kansas City in a defensive battle. Speaking of defensive battles, Baltimore beat Oakland. getting their only touchdown on interception. The Oilers surprised Tampa Bay, Tampa's first loss in their new stadium. The Rams outlasted the Bears, and the Cowboys outlasted the crowd and the Giants, winning 16-6. And three tight ones there. Arizona on a last-second field goal. The Eagles beat the Lions by 1, and San Francisco on a field goal, beating Carolina by 2. And what all that means is the Jets stay atop of the AFC East with Miami, but the Jets still undefeated in the division. New England and Buffalo right behind them. The touchdown, they went up 16-0 against San Francisco, but the Niners rallied to take the lead before Green Bay fought back. In New Jersey, actually, is Vinny Testaverde at the Meadowlands entertaining the Buffalo Bills, and Vinny got the Jets on the board first with a 25-yard touchdown to Keyshawn Johnson. Here he hits Gerald Sowell with the pass, and Sowell stripped of the ball by Marlo Perry. Donovan Greer recovers it, and that led to a field goal by Steve Christie, which was most of the Buffalo offense because Doug Flutie was having his troubles today against the Jets. Otis, my man, Smith, with the first interception off Flutie, and it's with the score 10-9 and the half running down. Look at this catch by Dedrick Ward to keep the Jets alive for a field goal by John Hall with 2 seconds left in the half. 13-9 in the third quarter. Dedrick Ward again with the touchdown pass, 36 yards from Testaverde. That made it 20-9. Doug Flutie getting sacked here by Brian Cox, who's been reborn with the Jets. Testaverde back again with Wayne Krebet, 12 yards for a touchdown, making it 27-12. And Flutie finally intercepted by Ray Mickens. Flutie had been 8-0 career in games at the Meadowlands. Well, he got his first loss this time. The Jets coming out 34-12 winners, and Vinny Testaverde 6-0 as a starter for the New York Jets.
And as you say, of course, they play in New Jersey at the Meadowlands. How much they like playing there? It's not really their stadium, is it?
Well, you know, who would like the Meadowlands except people from New York? That's all I can say.
Derby better go in there.
The Atlanta Falcons in Foxborough playing the New England Patriots. 7-0 lead when Chris Chandler hit O.J. Santiago to make it 14-0. Then Jamal Anderson makes it 21-3 with his second touchdown run of the game. Tough one from Drew Bledsoe on 4th and 2. The Patriots going for it. He's sacked by Archambault. It's picked up by Chuck Smith, and he rumbles 71 yards for the touchdown. That made it 28-3, and the Patriots and Pete Carroll were gone from that point. The final score, 41-10. The Patriots have lost 3 of their last 4. Tough day for Robert Edwards, 10 carries for 11 yards. And all AFC East battle. Dan Marino finally gets the passing game unleashed. His go-to receiver, O.J. McDuffie, 61 yards on the catch and run for their first touchdown in the first quarter. That made it 7-0. It became 14-0 when Marino again went to McDuffie, this time from 6 yards out. Miami up now. Another tough day for Peyton Manning. Terrell Buckley picks him off here. 2 field goals made it 20-0, and it finished 27-4. 9 catches for McDuffie, 100 yards for Avery, and Marino 200 yards passing. That's the balanced kind of attack that they were looking for. And what that means in the AFC East is the Jets and Miami are now tied for first, but the Jets still unbeaten in the division. New England and Buffalo now in a two-way tie for third, and they match up again next week. That's going to be a big game. And Indianapolis, of course, way out of it.
So that's the crackling little AFC.
More highlights. The Raiders at Baltimore. Another quarterback controversy, but Jeff George is back as the starter, but not for long. Peter Boulware hitting George as George hits James Jett for a 35-yard gain. George re-injured his groin on that one. That brought Donald Hollis back in, and Hollis wasn't in for long before he gave up this interception to Rod Woodson, 18 yards, and the only touchdown Baltimore would get on the day. Now, here's the play they were talking about on Monday Night Football. Donald Hollis actually got into the end zone. He thought, and we thought, he fumbled the ball. It was picked up but not run in by Harvey Wales. And you see again, the ball was definitely over the line and in the end zone, but no touchdown for Donald Hollis. Hollis getting sacked by Mike McCrary, one of his 4 sacks on the game, and trying to vote. That one just tipped away by Ralph Staten, or it would have been a completion and put them into field goal range. And finally, Dwayne Starks intercepting Hollis. Oakland couldn't get into range for that tying field goal. No offense for the Baltimore Ravens. Still Jim Harbaugh, another bad day. Ricky Dudley, though, 6 catches, he's finally beginning to show some of that promise or deliver on some of that promise that he's shown.
And as promised in relation to your faxes, Jerry Wolf.
The Oilers, coming off that big win over Pittsburgh, we're down at Raymond James Stadium where the Bucks are undefeated, and Trent Dilfer got things going, 58 yards to Bert Emanuel. And what a catch by Bert. Takes it away from the defensive back who was juggling the ball. Second quarter, Tampa up 16-3. Eddie George on the run. It's third quarter, and for the touchdown, 14 yards, making it 16-10. Eddie George, 33-yard run there. George having another big game after his huge game against Pittsburgh. Here's George again for the touchdown. 17-15, Tennessee in the lead, and a 1-yard interception. You won't see many of those by Joe Bowden, and that put Tennessee in the lead. Tampa Bay, though, striking back. Dilfer looking for Rydell Anthony, 10 yards, and the touchdown, 24-22, Tampa Bay in the lead. Steve McNair now back to pass, escapes the grass, sees a hole, cuts back, and Air McNair does it on the ground, 71 yards on the scramble. Less than 2 minutes to go, 31-22, and that meant Dilfer had to try to pass Tampa into position for the win. He puts one up to Rydell Anthony, completes another one over the middle to Warwick Dunn, but Dunn gets smothered, and then finally on fourth down, coming up short of the first down to Patrick Hape, no catch, and Tennessee comes away with a 31-22 win, 134 yards rushing for Eddie George. Charles Johnson and the St. Louis Rams were in Chicago. Steve Stenstrom getting his first NFL start and his first touchdown pass, 4 yards to Curtis Conway, giving the Bears a 7-0 lead. With the score tied 7-7 after Ricky Pohl, the former Bear, had a touchdown from Tony Banks. Banks hits Pohl again for 22 yards, and that sets up Banks for a 7-yard scramble, and that puts St. Louis in the lead, 14-7. Now we move on. It's fourth quarter. St. Louis leading 20-12. Stenstrom over the middle, hitting Bobby Ingram for a 48-yard gain. And now trying to hit Chris Penn on the fade. 51 seconds left. He overthrows it, and that's it for the Bears. They lose 20-12. Not a bad start for Steve Stenstrom's NFL career. A good game for Tony Banks, and a good game for the former Bear, Ricky Prohl. Now the Giants were at Dallas, and Emmitt Smith had a huge day for the Cowboys. He picks up 20 yards on this play running. Now he picks up 32 on this one, and he was going to pass Tony Dorsett as the all-time leading rusher for the Dallas Cowboys. But despite injuring his finger, it turned out the only offensive drive that resulted in a touchdown for the Cowboys came from Troy Aikman's arm. He hits Ernie Mills for Billy Davis, for that one, and Davis holds on after taking a hit. He hits Ernie Mills for that one. Mills went in for the score, but the referees didn't allow it, so it was up to Eric Bjornsson, 2 yards for the touchdown. Dallas 16-6 over the Giants. No offense for the Giants. Dr. Cannell got no help from his receivers. Amani Toomer turning into malignant tumor after a season as benign tumor. And Gary Brown's 119 on the ground is wasted. Emmitt Smith, 163 on the ground for the Cowboys. Now that's impressive.
And it was even worse in the first game of the season, of course, which we saw on Monday Night Football, when they was all, everyone was off out of the Meadowlands, very sharpish.
Yeah, and this one wasn't a very exciting game, though. I mean, it looks better in the highlights than it did in the whole.
Well, they've said goodbye to Dallas, which they'll be quite happy with. Now, tell us about Green Bay. I mean, this is a good professional unit. Let's see if they can do it. We can go to the second half now.
What a play by Wardley.
And back to highlight mode. This was a close one. Arizona leading 26-17 in the fourth. Trent Green hits Leslie Shepard, makes it 26-24. The Skins go onside. Steve Davis recovers the onside kick. 1:17 to go. Darren Mitchell gets the first down on the pass from Green. And with 35 seconds left, Kerry Blanchard hits a 54-yard field goal. And the Redskins lead 27-26 with 35 seconds to go. But Jake the Snake Plummer says this one's not over. He hits Frankie Sanders for 18. Joe Nedney with 2 seconds on the clock, 47 yards out, and Washington go down again. Arizona win 29-27. Jake Plummer was 16 for 17 passing in the second half, and Adrian Morrell, the former Jet, gained 107 yards on the ground for Arizona, who are now 5-4.
There you go. Good morning to Richard from Cheshire, a disgruntled Packer fan. You certainly are.
Another close game. Detroit at the Philadelphia Eagles, and Charlie Garner with the second effort going in for a touchdown. The Eagles in the unaccustomed position of a lead, 7-0. Garner had a big day rushing. So too did Barry Sanders. Sanders running for 17 here on one of those stop and starts. Watch Charlie Batch with the block, leading Sanders along. Now Sanders goes for 44, and this puts him over 1,000 for the season. That marks the 10th season Barry Sanders has gained over 1,000 yards, and that ties the NFL record. But despite all this yardage, the Lions could only get 3 Jason Hansen field goals. And here you've got a penalty for false start. 34 seconds to go. It pushes the Lions back 5 yards. Instead of a 53-yarder, Jason Hansen has to try a 58-yarder, which misses by a lot less than 5 yards. And that means a loss for Bobby Ross, who's looking more and more like Wayne Fontes all the time. Garner and Deuce Stacy combining for 208. From last Sunday's games, Ty Detmer, then at quarterback for San Francisco. Steve Young on the sidelines. Carolina led 16-7 at the half. Now in the third quarter, Carolina up by 2. And Detmer hits J.J. Stokes for a 29-yard touchdown, 22-16 San Francisco lead. But William Floyd, the former 49er, makes it 23-22. Wade Ritchie, 46-yard field goal with less than a minute to go, puts San Francisco in the lead by 2. Steve Berline hits Carrier out of bounds. That stops the clock. Now hits Ismail inbounds. The clock keeps running, but they stop it with a timeout. John Casey, 4 seconds to go, 54-yard attempt, and that falls well short. San Francisco escape, another close one, with a win at 25-23. John Mariucci happy about that. Steve Mariucci happy about that one. Carolina slipped to 1-8. Ty Detmer 3.